Hello and welcome to Lutherans Alive. This is the program that seeks to tell the stories of Lutheran Christians and our ministries here in southwestern Pennsylvania, and we do that believing that God is working through us. I'm Pastor Tony Schneck, and pleased to have with me on the program today Pastor Blair Morgan. Pastor Blair Morgan serves as the Director of Evangelical Mission here on the territory of our southwestern Pennsylvania Synod, and we're thankful for his presence here with us today. Pastor Morgan, welcome.
It's good to be with you.
It's good to be here with you. And Blair, tell us a little bit about how it's going, as now that you have had the opportunity to be the Director of Evangelical Mission for about a year and a half. How are you finding it? Is it what you expected?
It's been a great new challenge for me in my life. I loved being a parish pastor. I loved the work, the people that I worked with, the congregations I served, the opportunities that I had, and I did that for just a little over 30 years. And in that experience, I really did, I think, develop a desire to be helpful to the growth of the faith, to have an interest in seeing people come to a deeper faith in Christ, and helping churches to strengthen that ministry. And so as I've moved into this position now, that's pretty much what I do every day, which is very special. I have conversations around mission with pastors and congregational councils and committees, and around stewardship. And so we're talking about mission, how we can be about it and do it better. We're also talking about how we can support mission and make it possible. And those are important discussions.
We had the opportunity to have you on the program about a year and a half ago whenever you first started. So it's good to have an opportunity to follow up and see how it's going. Now, as you travel around to the congregations in our synod and speak with them about evangelical mission, stewardship, how are you finding things around our synod? What are some of the both the joys and the concerns?
Start with the concerns, just in the sense that we have congregations across this synod, and we have close to 200 congregations in southwestern Pennsylvania Synod, and it's an area that runs from Newcastle and Katanning south through the Beaver Valley and the city, and out to Greensburg, Latrobe area, and on south through to Uniontown and Waynesburg. So those counties, that direction, that section of Pennsylvania is the geographical section that we relate to, and so that entire area has faced the challenge of a loss of population in the last 30 years, and really even longer than that, 40 years, that makes for a challenge for all of the congregations, all of the Christian ministries that are there, not just in our own denomination, but all denominations, to have to face this idea that the towns that we've been in over the years, the context that we've had, the buildings that we built 3, 4, 5 decades ago, or sometimes longer, now are of a size where they're older, yet the number of people available in those communities has lessened, and so everybody's trying to kind of connect up and make those do mission in the midst of that. And the mission has changed. The way we go about sharing the gospel has to happen in a whole new way. For so long, I think we were a little too comfortable with the fact that if we put a church in an area, there would be people interested in the Lutheran Church who would come in our doors without us really doing a whole lot of having to share our own personal faith or invite someone. That just through the realities of say, the baby boomer generation, The realities of the way mainline churches drew people in the 50s and the 60s, people tended to just come, and we were sort of just used to that. And what has happened in the last 20 to 30 years is that we've come to realize we need to be better at inviting and being inviting, being able to talk a bit about what Christ means to us, the importance of Jesus in my life, why it matters that I am someone who follows Christ. And our people haven't really been asked to really face that, talk about that, share that. Generally speaking, we Lutherans kind of play our spirituality closer to the vest. And it isn't so much that we don't have a deep faith, it's just that it's deep in there. But what we don't seem to have developed ways of talking about it and connecting others to the enthusiasm that we have. I find as I go around, that would be the kind of the positive aspect that I find is we have people who love their Lord, love the church, are committed to the history and experience of the churches that they're in, value their experience there, and that commitment, that reality is still very alive. But I think we have to find new ways of sharing that.
No longer do we live in an age where we can say, if you build it, they will come.
Yeah, there you are.
What
From
would
one of my favorite movies.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Mine too. What would you say to someone who felt a bit daunted by that that invitation to go out and share your faith, or go out and invite someone to come to worship, or to come to something at church, or to talk about what's going on at church, or to talk about what Jesus means to me in my life? What words would you say, or what words of encouragement would you have for maybe some Lutheran out there who's watching that, as you say, we play our spiritual cards a little close to the vest? What words of encouragement would you have to that person to say?
I think one of the things that we need to have in the life of our churches are contexts where our people can have some of those conversations with each other, where we begin to talk about the value, what Christ means to us, in a context where, each of us share it with someone else, and where we are encouraged to find a way to think about how we might talk about our faith. If you said to a Lutheran in any of the pews across our churches in our synod, and said, "Do you believe in Jesus?" I think they'd all say yes, and I think there would be very few that would kind of sit there and scratch their head and say, "Oh, gee, I'm not sure." There may be a few, and that actually may be a very honest analysis that some may need to be, because certainly we travel journeys in the life of our faith where sometimes we're wrestling and struggling, and that's okay. But so many would be ready to say yes, and could even begin to talk about something, how it would be if they were guided through that process. There are times in their everyday lives where they would have an opportunity to reveal in some way that faith means something to them. An example that I happened to encourage in a Sunday school class over the years has been the idea that maybe on a Monday morning, when the talk around the water cooler or in the office is around something of the what'd you do this weekend? A lot of our people, I bet, say, Saturday we went shopping, and Sunday afternoon we watched a football game and went to Aunt Clara's or something like that. And this time maybe the thing they could say is something like, and Sunday morning we went to church, and bring that up in some way.
This is an important topic. I think it's one we want to continue. After we take a short break, we'll be back on Lutherans Alive. Welcome back to Lutherans Alive. We continue our conversation with Pastor Blair Morgan, Director of Evangelical Mission here on the territory of our Southwestern Pennsylvania Synod, an important resource person to all of our congregations. We were talking before the break about conversations around the water cooler at work. The Monday morning Christians out there in the world, in the places where we live and work and go to school. And what can we say?
I mean, I think that's kind of where we're headed, and just that idea that we include as a part of our story experiences we've had in the life of our church. What people don't realize is that it can happen that you just have never gotten around to revealing that the life of the church and a walk with Christ are something that are important to you. That we much more easily do talk about our sports experiences or our hobbies or something to that effect. And in part, for Lutherans, it's because the things that are even more important to us, we keep a little close in. Although if you think about it, somebody asks you about your family, people that are close to you, it's not unusual for people to want to share a picture of the latest thing their kids did or their grandchildren did or whatever that might be. They're certainly able to do that. We need to find ways to be able to talk about our faith in caring ways, in right ways, and not ways that push people away, which we've probably all experienced a little bit of that in faith conversations as well.
Mm-hmm. In a work situation or in a school situation, certainly those kinds of conversations can lead to some amount of awkwardness, not only on our part, but on the part of the others who are a part of the conversation. But indeed, it is possible to talk about our life in the church, what our faith means to us, what God means to us, what Jesus means to us. We can do that in ways that don't have to be threatening or seem pushy, but simply to say, this is who I am. This is a part of who I am, and I'm not saying you need to be this way, mm-hmm. but I can invite you to come and see. I can invite you to come to my place of worship. I can invite you to come with me to a church dinner or something like that. But we can talk about our ways. It's more of a sharing than it is a proselytizing or something that's much more negative, has a much more negative connotation.
I think it's overwhelming in conversations when you feel like it's being pushed upon you to hear a long presentation, and when the agenda becomes much more overwhelming, I think that's something we can even talk about, that often sharing the gospel is about the other person. It's about learning who they are. It's listening to who they are. Part of when I'm saying that you could reveal you went to church on Sunday morning along with to Aunt Clara's house for dinner in the afternoon or whatever is just seeding conversations with subtle reminders that that's important to you and a part of your life. What I've observed over the years is that as people have been able to reveal a little bit of that, it makes it possible for people to come to them and share something that may help make it possible for them to have someone, when they've got someone in trouble, they might say to you, gee, I heard you say about, you go to church, could you maybe have your church pray for my cousin there, and all of a sudden there is this servant evangelism aspect to what goes on that begins to become a part of that relationship, that if you hadn't revealed it, you'd never know. Plus, every once in a while, there may be somebody that's looking for a church, and it would be helpful to know that you value your experience in the life of your church as well.
We should never underestimate the power of saying something as simple as, well, I'll be praying for you. If someone reveals to you a difficult situation, a relative who's sick or someone who's going through a hard time, I'll pray for you, or I'll pray for you. I mean, that's, that can be a very, very, a very kind, a very wonderful opportunity to reach out to someone with a bit of the good news, with a bit of God's grace. There in a workplace or in a school.
Now, another thing that I have run into is that I've talked with a number of pastors who are looking for ways to offer Bible studies, other learning opportunities, and they find that so many of their people hold back, that they might get one or two people that respond or just a little bit of interest. Another way that we can grow in our faith, I think some of our people feel like, almost like they're as far along, they're a little nervous about trying to go deeper. There's something that holds that back, and we've got to solve that. We've got to find a way to help through the work of the Holy Spirit for our people to feel inspired to go deeper, to make that connection so that can help them to develop and strengthen and inspire and expand their experience of their walks with God. And I don't believe there's ever an age or ever a time when we can settle that we feel like we know enough. There's always more to learn.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I think you're right in that there are many who believe that they don't know enough. They're intimidated to go to a Bible study or an adult Sunday school class or even a topical class of some sort because they feel they don't know enough and they don't want to be embarrassed.
I've often said that in those conversations, if you're thinking you might want to go to a Bible study and there's something in you that's whispering, oh, you better not go because someone might, you don't know enough for all, does it seem like it'd be the Holy Spirit that's whispering in your ear, don't go to that Bible study? You know, it doesn't seem like to me that the one you're listening to is that would be keeping you away from learning more about God would be one you should be listening to. So that seems to me to be an important reminder, because we know as pastors that we have people that do tend to, just like you said, hold back. They're a little fearful that it might in some way be revealed that they don't know enough, whatever that is, and it's all kind of nebulous. And I would say that's why you go to class. And if in any way somebody would imply or feel they could, I've never experienced a lot of that looking down on someone that people think goes on. I don't know what they think goes on in Bible studies, but generally you're just excited to have people that want to learn. That's what it seems I've seen over the years.
And as you say, we're never finished learning.
Absolutely.
We're never finished. I mean, none of us are finished products. We all need to learn. Every single one of us needs to grow in our faith and our walk with God. More about growing in our faith with Pastor Blair Morgan after we take another short break here on Lutherans Alive. Welcome back to Lutherans Alive. We continue our conversation with our good friend Pastor Blair Morgan. Serves as the Director of Evangelical Mission here, resource person for all of our congregations here in southwestern Pennsylvania. And Blair, can you say a bit about the resources that you may be offering right now, or what it is that you're currently doing to help some of the congregations in our Lutheran Synod?
Well, we've been traveling down this road to talk about the mission aspect of things, it seems, in our discussion, and so that's probably a place to continue. As we look at our congregations, there is still a great need for us to re-examine where we're at as congregations and mission. What is God calling us to do in our particular geographic community that we are located in? How can we make a difference for Christ? Is that, I think a lot of our congregations think, well, you know, what's it church, but we hold worship, and if we have enough to have Sunday school, we have some kind of Sunday school, and we try to visit some of the sick people in our congregation. There's kind of these basic things that we think of a church as doing, and we don't think more a sense of with a sense of mission about, but there are people in the context in which we are located that God is seeking to reach, and how can we best be a part of that mission? And so one of the things we are seeking to offer is kind of a mission planning tool that helps any congregation, whatever size, for them to do some examination of what they're being called to be as a congregation and how they might better reach their communities. We were working on a resource, natural church development. This is a resource for some of our congregations that may be a little better established, may have that sense of mission, looking for a new way to kind of evaluate their mission and what they might focus on next. And so this is a whole tool that provides, through some significant research of churches all over the world, a way to evaluate around 8 characteristics that has been found to be useful in congregations and effective ways of congregations doing ministry, and to evaluate your congregation and then to look for something to focus on and strengthen in the life. So natural church development is something we're offering. We have the ability to do a transformational, a renewing experience. We're just beginning to do some pilot projects to work with congregations that who have pastors in place and yet are at a time in their life, in the life of their congregation, where they need significant renewal, and we want to provide them an opportunity to be renewed as people, to be renewed in their work of who they are and their ministry, and to be renewed out into the community. How are they doing their outreach? And so that sort of transformational experience is another piece of that. And we're also working to try and help congregations in cooperative ministry. We're looking at ways of helping congregations to work together, to do work together, sometimes to sort of partner, to yoke together, and maybe have one pastor, 2 congregations. We have a context where across the Pittsburgh area, we have right now 7 congregations working together with two full-time pastors, one pastor who is learning on an internship experience, so actually a student in seminary, and one retired pastor, pulling together to bring those congregations as one parish, but 7 congregations across a fairly large geographical area. And so that Pittsburgh Lutheran United Ministries is something that's happening, and we're looking to try and replicate that in a couple of different places, in sort of new creative ways to help congregations work together. So we're trying to be creative in helping congregations to look at their mission and to renew it and to strengthen it around taking the gospel into their areas.
I've heard it said by some that mainline denominations are dying, or they're even dead. Mm-hmm. I've heard others say, no, that's not true. Mm-hmm. What's your assessment?
Well, I think there's no question that what we've described is earlier about what we were used to in the mainline denominations of how we shared the gospel. We were able to be people who held it close to the vest and still have people coming in our doors and working out. That, to me, is the key thing that has changed, is that we are needing to be more visible, and we haven't been given tools to make that happen. We need, and we're working on that, and that's some of the things I just described. So I do think that mainline denominations have dwindled in size, and we are one of those denominations that have dwindled in size. And part of the reason is the reality that we have not been as willing to share, to invite, to look for ways to be inviting. But that's changing, and it is my hope, and certainly the commitment that I bring to my responsibility as a resource person in this synod, to seeing that turn around.
It seems to me that one of the things we really have going for us is our connectedness, is our, with all due respect to some of the bigger independent congregations that we see in our area, one of the things we really have going for us is our connectedness with one another, and that we can pull together, and we have our social service agencies, a wonderful network of social service agencies. We have our schools, we have our Lutheran World Hunger outreach, all of those things that that we could not do alone. But there is a lot of power in our unity in Christ and working together to do some wonderful ministries.
There's no question. I mean, it's the same thing that we see as far as Pittsburgh having once been a much larger city, so that we aren't the size we used to be. But in the end, we have some amazing resources available to us as a city that a lot of cities that it would now be our size wouldn't necessarily have available. It's the same, just what you'd identified is very true about the strengths available to us as the Evangelical Lutheran Church in America, as we are experienced here in Southwestern Pennsylvania Synod.
For you personally, on a personal note, how has it been for you overall?
I have truly enjoyed this new challenge. As it just, I get asked sometimes, do you miss being a parish pastor? And I miss certainly the relationships with the people that I grew to love. And there's just, what a wonderful privilege we have as pastors to be a part of people's family, to be there in some of the great events of their lives. So that aspect of the ministry is something that certainly has changed. But one of the things I've always loved about being a pastor is just sitting down and talking about Jesus, talking about how we can better be people who are faithful disciples. That aspect of ministry I actually get to do more than I used to be able to do. So I think all in all, I still feel a great energy for what I do.
I can see that. I can see that, my friend. Thanks so much. It's good to be with you today here on Lutherans Alive. And good to have you with us here today as well, talking with Pastor Blair Morgan. And we hope that you will be reached out to by one of those Lutheran congregations in your neighborhood or near your neighborhood. And we hope that you'll come to worship with us. Until next time, we'll see you on Lutherans Alive.